Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Ljungqvist and I'm the CEO of RhoVac, which is a Swedish biotech company working in the field of oncology, specifically fighting metastasis. We are trying to develop a therapy to avoid the spread of cancer in the body. That's our goal. We are listed on the stock exchange here in Stockholm, the small stock exchange Spotlight, and for this reason, this safe harbor statement. So how do we fight metastasis? We are using immune therapy, and we are using the specific area of T-cell activation within the immune therapy. T-cell activation means that we are using the T-cells in the immune system, and we can program these T-cells to fight specific cancer cells. To program these cells, we need to give the cells a target to search for. And the target that we are providing to these cells are the protein RhoC. And what is specific and very special with this protein is that it's overexpressed in all cancer cells that has a metastatic potential. So if we can target these cells, we can also avoid the spread of cancer in the body. There is another thing with this RhoC that is interesting, and that is that it's overexpressed in all cancer cells having a metastatic potential, regardless of which cancer indication it stems from. So there is a possibility and there is a potential possibility to use these treatment in other cancer indications. All cancer indications that metastasize are theoretically a possibility. So right now we have performed and completed our first clinical trial. I'll shortly come back to that. And we are now aiming at the next clinical phase. And for that we are raising about 180 million Swedish kronor. And we have decided to go into this field ourselves. And the basis for that is, among other things, that we have completed a scientific advice with EMA in Europe and also pre-IND meeting with FDA in USA. And both authorities conclude that we have the documentation needed to go into a phase 2b study. We don't need any additional documentation. They also comment that we have the right patient population, and we have the right inclusion criteria, and we have the correct endpoints to study and show the effect of this drug. So in doing this, having this possibility, we will then be able to start our clinical trial. And actually, we have already submitted the clinical trial application in the first country, which is Denmark. And we recently received approval to start the clinical trial in Denmark. And we are now rolling it out in additional at least 5 countries in Europe. So we hope to start the study, having the first patient in here in the beginning of second half of 2019. And from the time that we have the first patient in until the completion of this study, meaning that we can conclude on the efficacy, it will take 24 months. So in Q3 2021, we will have the results of this phase 2b clinical study. In parallel with this, we are also planning to perform a combination study in a different indication, in a solid cancer. And this will be a combination with a drug that is currently on the market. Final decision, final design of that study is not yet complete, but we hope to be able to start the study, this explorative study, sometime in 2020. In parallel with these activities that are planned to take all in all 3 years, and we have, with the funding that we are getting now, we are covered for the whole 3-year period. We are having a research collaboration here in Sweden with Lund University on cancer stem cells, and also with the University in Tübingen and Center for Cancer Immune Therapy in Copenhagen. And these collaborations will continue. So as mentioned, we have completed the first study. And this is obviously a safety and tolerability study. We had 22 patients in. They are treated with 11 subcutaneous injections, so it's relatively simple way to treat the patients, and the treatment takes approximately 30 weeks. The conclusion is that the safety of this treatment is very safe. We had no grade 3, 4, or 5 toxicity during the study. The tolerability with the patients was also very good compliance, and all 22 patients that were enrolled in the study completed the study, and all 22 patients also completed the follow-up period that have just been finalized. The only thing that the patient experienced was a mild grade 2 reactions in the skin, and that's actually an indication that the adjuvant that we are using for this is working. An adjuvant is there to activate the immune system. It creates an inflammation in the skin, and that's what they can see. So what we showed in the first study is that our treatment is very safe and is well tolerated by the patients that were enrolled in this study. In addition to this, we also measured the immune response, because that's, do we actually activate these T cells that we are talking about? And of the 21 patients that we could evaluate for this, one patient, unfortunately, we had to exclude from this evaluation. Of the 21 patients, 18 of the patients do respond significantly. And we can also see that we follow up for 3 months and 6 months. And here, again, all 18 patients responded significantly. Actually, at the 6-month time period, there was one more patient responding. We don't yet regarding as what we call a confirmed responder, because to classify that this, it has to has 2 measurements where they do respond. So we still say that is 86%, but actually there's one more patient responding at 6 months after completion of treatment. A very good result, and we can conclude here that we can get a product-mediated immune response established in the patient, which means that the drug and the dose we are giving is biologically active. The next study that we actually have now started on, as I mentioned, approval from the Danish authorities. Here we are measuring the effect, and we are measuring the effect based on measurement of PSA doubling time. PSA is the approved and accepted bioindicator in this patient having prostate cancer. So we are enrolling up to 175 patients, and we are measuring the PSA. And as mentioned, from the first patient in to the first to results, that's 24 months. Then we will have the results of this study. It's a relatively big study, and that's because we want to ensure that the results can be calculated as statistically significant. So we can conclude on the efficacy in this study. And as mentioned, the primary objective is to measure, can we, with this treatment, reduce the PSA progression in the treated group compared to the placebo group. And in addition, what we're also doing is measuring, is there a difference in time from where the patients need a second-line treatment? That is normally hormone treatment, compared to the placebo group. And this one is an objective that has been proposed by FDA in the US as a relevant objective. So these are the activities that we will work with for the next 3 years, and we have, as mentioned, already started, and we are looking very much forward to do this, and we find that our basis for progressing into this phase is very promising. So with this, I will leave the word to Anders, who will tell a little bit more about the business development part.
Right, hello everybody. My name is Anders Månsson, and I'm recently recruited to RhoVac as the Chief Business Officer and Deputy CEO. And that's a very long, fancy title to signify that it is my job to secure that we have a successful exit down the road. The experience I have that makes it relevant that I take this job is substantial in terms of the pharmaceutical industry experience that I have. Most recently, I had a job as the VP and Global Head of Business Development at Leo Pharma, which is a relatively large multinational company. And in that capacity, I've actually been able to secure several multi-billion Swedish krona deals for Leo. I've also worked for Ferring Pharmaceuticals. I worked as head of global strategy and also as a local general manager, which means that I have substantial experience also in sales and marketing and also in the relevant area in prostate cancer, which is also a focus area for Ferring. Most recently, though, I have had a number of board positions in South Swedish biotech companies and also jumped in as a CEO of one of those companies and took that from basically the startup level to first external financing. So I have some experience in working in small companies as well. So what makes me interested in RhoVac? I think it is a uniquely attractive concept. I think it is a very innovative concept, not to aim for a specific cancer type, but to aim for metastasis per se. And the reason for that is, well, very few primary tumours actually kill the patient, but metastases do frequently. So from a need perspective, that's a very relevant idea to have. And also, I think metastases in the early phases, it's not like treating solid tumours, which has shown to be quite troublesome for immune therapy in the past. And the reason for that is that solid tumours are very difficult for the immune system cells to penetrate. And many solid tumours have the ability to limit the efficacy of immune therapy. And that is very evident from results today. But metastases in the early phases are isolated cells or isolated small group of cells that cannot be immune to immune system treatment because they are penetrable to the immune system cells and they do not have the tricks of the trade that solid tumours have in trying to avoid the immune system, becoming what is called immune excluded tumours or even immune desert tumours. I also think it is highly relevant to go for prostate cancer as the first indication to go into in depth. And the reason for that is that the niche that we're trying to get at, which is adjuvant treatment after the initial treatment of the primary tumour, is something that is prevalent in many other cancers. If you look at breast cancer, for example, colorectal cancer, there are treatments that are being administered after the primary tumour has been addressed either through surgery or radiation. So you're actually able to take some medication to prevent the recurrence of cancer. This is not the case in prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, the next level of treatment, as Anders alluded to, is hormonal treatment, which perhaps doesn't sound so bad, but you can also describe it as castration therapy, because what you're essentially doing is that you're removing the testosterone from the circulation or blocking it at the receptor level, which obviously gives the patients the perception of being a castrated person and all the side effects that comes with that in terms of erectile dysfunction and other side effects. So there is no treatment today which is suitable in terms of the side effect profile for treating a patient that has had his primary tumour addressed and is now only seeking to prevent the recurrence of cancer. So who are possible partners for us to seek an exit deal with? Well, first and foremost, it's all the big pharma companies, because essentially all the big pharma companies today deal with oncology. But we should not forget that there is also some mid-sized companies out there who specialize in either urology or oncology. My preference would, however, be for a really big pharma company who would be able to take this project and put it through multiple phase 3 projects. That is to say, to develop this project for a variety of cancer indications. So the goals of business development, well, I've divided this into a strategic goal and some tactical goals. So the strategic goal is to have at least an array of interested companies ready to do final negotiation by the time that we have phase 2B results. But there could be some tactical goals that can help and aid in doing that. And one goal could be that we make an option deal so that a big pharma comes in and pays a relatively moderate upfront payment in order to be able to execute the deal once phase 2 results are in at predetermined conditions, or only for having first rights of refusal. Another tactical goal could be to make a collaboration agreement with one of the big companies and trying to have a trial where we have our drug, RV001, used in parallel with one of their drugs. That, of course, requires that these drugs could work together in synergy. I should mention also that we have a rights issue ongoing. The subscription period is June 5 to June 19, so that's next week. The subscription ratio is 1:1, so it's a rather large one. Subscription price, 19 krona, and the gross issue size is 181 million krona. And the good thing about this is that this is a very good way for a biotech to finance itself, I must say, from a business perspective, because we will be fully funded for 3 years, which should suffice all the way to an exit and give us some negotiation room. So we will not be running out of money at the time the phase 2 results are in when we're negotiating with big pharma companies. So in summary, I conclude that RhoVac has a unique and well-tolerated non-cancer type specific drug candidate in RV001. The first indication that we go into in depth will be adjuvant treatment of prostate cancer, which is good because there is no such treatment available today due to the side effect of later stage treatments. And after the ongoing rights issue, the company will be fully funded for 3 years, which should suffice us all the way to an exit. So I am certainly looking forward to the discussions with Big Pharma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anders. So now I'm back with the first Anders to take some questions. And I'm going to start by addressing the audience. Are there any questions in the audience for Anders? Yes?
Yeah, I want to ask Anders Månsson. I noticed your passion and your enthusiasm for the RhoVac company and the development of RhoVac. And consequently, I want to ask you, are you a shareholder of RhoVac, and for how many in that case?
I'm not currently, but I will be. So I will participate in this. And yeah, I don't know if it's relevant to mention the number, but it's between 500,000 and 1 million.
Okay, thank you.
So in case that didn't show on the camera, since Anders is sitting down, the question was, is Anders Månsson a shareholder in RhoVac? And if so, if not, then will he be? And the answer is yes, in short. We have another question in the back.
How do you assess the competitive landscape, and perhaps specifically also what it will cost on average to bring an oncology candidate to the market? I've seen figures as high as $2 billion on average. Thank you.
When we need to look at the market as such, we stand here, you can say, with the challenge that there is no current treatment. So what we are doing is moving into an area where patients don't get any treatment today. An advantage obviously is that there is no competitors, but we have to define the market. And it is a big market. It's a very, very, very big market. 40% approximately of the patients are that receive primary treatment do get metastasis and are not treated today, but have to wait for secondary treatment. And we are talking about several 100,000 patients per year in this area. So it is a very, very big market. I think you then asked about the price of development or pricing? Competition.
And also what it will cost on the average to bring a candidate all the way to
the market.
Marketability.
Yeah. The competition is, as mentioned, not really there currently. There is one product that is being developed, but that is in an earlier stage than ours. And it's a little bit difficult to see whether it will progress its development or not. It has not finished the phase 1 clinical trial yet. The cost of developing a product like this is very difficult to say, because it's very much related to what you include in the cost. It's very much related to how you calculate the cost. And you will see billion-dollar development from the big pharma companies. I think we in a biotech company, and that is the strength of a biotech company, can develop the products much cheaper as we are much more focused. We don't have to work on different areas at the same time. It's difficult to give a precise figure. You can say that up to now, we have invested 67 million Swedish, and we're adding then 180 million Swedish, and we are bringing the product up to a stage where it can run directly into a phase 3 clinical trial That is obviously more expensive. But compared to some of the very big products in the market, it's a low-cost development. And I think one reason for that is what is called a cancer vaccine. All taken into account, that is cheaper to develop and some of the other checkpoint inhibitors and even chemotherapy.
Thank you.
I would like to add in to the point that Anders Månsson was making earlier, that if your strategy is to partner or exit, and if a big pharma then goes in and wants to explore multiple indications, then of course the cost is also can be, well, there's no limit there.
Oh,
so
that's right.
But on one of the other slides also, there was the tactical goals that you can include in business development, and one of them being then to perhaps enter a collaboration with another partner for a combination study. And you did mention in your presentation that that's in the books, so to speak, in the plan. Is there anything you can say about that? What class of drug you were looking at?
Obviously, when we are talking about a combination study in this area, it's logical to think about a checkpoint inhibitors, and there are some on the markets right now. And I think that a combination study with a checkpoint inhibitor could be very interesting, but that is then requiring that we get a deal with a company that can assist us or cooperate in that development. As the checkpoint inhibitors today are very, very expensive, so a company of our size will not be able to pay for that study medication. There could be others. Even going back to some of the chemotherapies that are currently used, that could be a good rationale for a combination. It has been documented in some scientific papers that actually the overexpression of RhoC that is seen in metastasis is reducing the effect of chemotherapy. So that alone gives an opening for a combination study where you could expect to see a synergistic effect with a combination. But right now we are looking at the different possibilities, and we have not made up our mind which way forward we are going. But obviously a checkpoint inhibitor is high on the list of possibilities, yes.
One would argue then that to find a partner, if you have an asset that has the, well, seemingly broad potential that your candidate has, that should be possible then to find the partner you're looking for. Wish you good luck with that. I was wondering though, you also show on the slide that you have shown good results in the follow-up at 3 months and 6 months. You're around 84%, I think.
86%.
86%, sorry. And for the 9-month and the 12-month follow-up, what do you need to show there in order to be able to call it a success?
Well, already you can say that it is a success, because with the 3 months and 6 months follow-up, we show that we have, first of all, a very significant immune response, and it's very robust. It stays. And getting the memory cells of the immune system to ensure that the body can maintain this immune response for up to 6 months already. That's very, very good. Obviously, if we can show that it's maintained up to 9 months and perhaps even up to 12 months, will increase. But the success of the immune response have already been reached. And what we hope to see, or maybe seeing, that is a further positive results that can help us how we will dose the product in the going forward. That's the main part.
So a continued level around 86% would be considered an icing on the cake.
That will, yeah, you can say so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looking at you have a share issue going on, and you have had an interesting number of investors coming in at this point, quite big. Do you want to comment on that? Yes,
obviously, when we started this fundraising, we needed to get the total sum in, because it's a 2-year study and it's a 3-year period we are working with. So we need to get the money in to make sure that we complete the study. We don't start any study if we don't know that we have the money to complete it also. So it would have to be a big sum of money. So that is the first thing that is important here. The other thing is that We have attracted some very big investors, institutional investors, and some very big Swedish investors, and they have a more long goal investment in the company. So I think we will see a possibility that we will be able to stabilize the future of the company. We will not need to go out and use enormous resources on finding additional funding, but we can focus on developing the actual project, and that I find to be a very good thing. I'm sure that the biggest investors, the two biggest investors, have guaranteed, I think it's 133 million of this investment. They will stay in the company. They will not start selling out, and that gives us a very, very good position going forward.
That sounds very good. And as Anders also mentioned earlier, is that crucial to have cash on hand when you start negotiations.
Precisely.
Okay, wish you good luck with everything, and thank you very much, both of you, for an interesting presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.